the fight, yeah, bring on all the lightning. 'Cause I'm looking for a hero. Look inside the mirror, I find one. Oh, carry the hurt when it gets too hard.
Hi, welcome to this episode of Inspired. I am your host, Takiya La'Shaune. I am joined today by Faith Thomas. How you doing, Faith?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Good friend of mine, newfound author.
Yes.
Just all around warrior woman. You are someone that is a pillar to me. You are a mother. You just have so many great things going on, and I'm just honored to have you here on this platform.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're looking good.
Thank
I love
you
the
so
hair.
much.
I've seen you've been talking about the journey with your locks and everything. And
Yes.
It looks good. It
yes.
looks good.
A new journey of mine. Something I wanted to do for a while.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love it. How are the children doing?
Absolutely amazing.
Good.
Absolutely
Good.
amazing.
So we are here today. We are talking about this theme, healing through the hurt. And we are talking about the things that we've endured, different topics that we as women go through in our personal lives and our emotional, social, mental well-being, that whole journey. And today you are here with me and you're going to share with me your journey just on inner health.
Yes.
And the process that you have gone through with fibroid tumors.
Yes.
Just which is something huge because I personally dealt with that. I believe we talked about that. I think we talked about that during the process when I was going through it.
Actually, we
and
did.
had I listened and took your advice, I would have had a different direction with it. But yeah, so let's talk about that. We're gonna set the stage here. For that journey, that process with what we call the hurt, and that's establishing where things began. So if you want to share that with us, you have the floor.
Well, my oldest child is now 16, almost 17.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say 17 years ago, May 18th, I found out that I had fibroid tumors. And most people would say, well, how did you find out the day that your child was born? Because unfortunately, you know how the healthcare system is. They limit on what view doctors and ultrasound techs can look and diagnose at different things. Mm-hmm. So throughout my pregnancy, I was jogging, I was exercising, and then when I got to month 8, I was at work and I just had this horrible pain and I felt like, oh my gosh, my back is hurting. I kept going to the restroom, and my assistant at the time, she was like, I think you should go home and call your doctor. I went home and called my doctor, and from that point on, I became a high-risk pregnancy candidate. I had to go in and out of the hospital maybe like 3 or 4 times, and not one time did they give me a transvaginal ultrasound. And if I would have had a transvaginal ultrasound, they would have seen the fibroid tumors. Yeah. My daughter was, they thought only like 5 or 6 pounds, but when she was born, she was 8 pounds. So she completely covered the fibroid tumors, so you would not be able to see them in the front.
Right.
You needed to have a different view. And they just never considered it. And I ended up having to have an emergency C-section. And at the time, the doctor, he said, oh, now I see. You have fibroid tumors.
Wow.
And so he said, and they were trying to compete. They wanted to live and push your baby out. So that's why you kept going in and out of the hospital. So, wow. Then I began to try to do as much research about how I could naturally heal my body so that I would not have to go through this anymore. And you just said it. Whenever we first met, I started talking to you because I'm so passionate about how many Black women especially have no idea because your hair may fall out a little bit in the weirdest place. You may feel bloated. You may have extreme pain during cycles, extremely heavy bleeding, and you just don't know. And for whatever reason, no one wants to talk about it. They just kind of like brush it under the rug. And to think, I almost lost my child because somebody didn't want to say anything. They didn't want to talk about it. So I was on a mission, you know, trying my best to do all these things. And then I told God, I said, well, if my husband and I at the time don't have a second child, I'll be fine with this child and we'll just go on. Because the fibroid tumors came back. I mean, I went through getting them removed through just like a non-invasive quote unquote procedure.
Right.
And I tried all these different herbs, but they just kept coming back because where my fibroid tumors were located, they were located in the wall of the uterus. So you never could take them all out without giving me a hole.
They were in the lining.
They were in the lining.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna be as healthy as I possibly can and do everything quote unquote right. So whenever we conceived our second child, I was really happy because it definitely wasn't planned. It was just like, if it happens, it happens.
Right.
And that was, I think we found out in like July. And by September, I was at work again, doing what I needed to do. And next thing I know, I was in this very traumatic state because I went to the restroom and blood was everywhere. And I was like, what is happening? And I called my doctor and she was like, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to get out of there and get to me. ASAP. So went to the doctor and you could see the blood just coming down from my lining with the ultrasound. And she said, you want a baby or you want a job?
It's okay.
And I said, I want my baby because I'll never get this one back, ever. And so from that point on, I had to go on bed rest. And it was a really good thing because I was able to save my baby. He's 14 now, and he's a big man.
Handsome.
He is. He's a handsome man. And they were competing again for my child's life or them to survive. And no, they're not cancerous, but they are a nasty, nasty condition to have. They are just the type of tumors that will bring you to your knees and you have no idea what to do when you're doing everything you think to do.
Well, because again, I've had that same personal experience, and it's interesting what you say is so true, that they were competing to live. They literally feed off, the tumors begin to grow, and they feed off the blood supply in your body.
Direct blood supply.
Exactly, and it's very invasive. It's not cancerous like you said, but it's very invasive in your body, and it begins to take over if we don't do the things we need to do to address it.
If we don't do. And so about maybe a year, almost 2, after my son was born, I just kept having such excruciating pain during my menstrual cycles that my doctor was like, you can't survive like this. Ended up bleeding nonstop. And so it was like, you know what you're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to give you a hysterectomy. And at the time, I was just, early 30s. So I was like, okay, just do what you have to do because I don't know what else to do at this point. So I ended up having a hysterectomy. And so I knew it was permanent, that I would not be able to bring any more children into the world by my birth canal. But I am so grateful and humbled that I still get to work with and support and bring about change in so many children's lives on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So You said something again, and we're going to talk about that. We'll pick it up after the commercial break, but I want to touch on it again, just going back to when the nurse said to you, do you want your job or do you want your baby? And so often we as women, I mean, that was a very dramatic, and it was right there obvious. The obvious answer was right there. But we as women are given that so inadvertently so many times, where we have to make a decision to choose. And oftentimes when it comes to our bodies, it should not be the case. It should not be the case where information is not given too late, or we're not knowledgeable about the steps and the choices and the actions, us being proactive. And so that's, you being here is just speaks tremendously to not even the cause, but the movement that we be proactive in our health, that we don't leave that choice in the hands of anyone else.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about that more. We're going to take a commercial break. After this commercial, we'll be right back and talk more with Faith.
Bringing out the fight, yeah, bring on all the lightning, 'cause
Hi, my name is Faith Thomas. I am an author and speech pathologist. My speech pathology company's name is Low Country Speech Therapy and Associates. I have a book coming out in June of 2021. It's called Fashioned by God to Rule the World. And if you would like for more information, please contact me at speechbyfaith@gmail.com, or you can cash at me at 111 Blind Faith. The book Unloved is coming out in September of 2021. So please feel free to support. Thank you.
bringing out the fight, yeah, bring on all the lightning, 'cause
Hey, welcome back to this episode of Inspire. I am here with Faith Thomas, author, speech pathologist, beautiful mother, and just an all-around wonderful soul. We are talking about her journey with fibroids, and let's double back just for a moment, because we talk so candidly and openly about fibroids. We know what it is. What are fibroid tumors, for the viewer that's watching and doesn't know, for the woman that's watching and has all of these signs and symptoms and has not been given a diagnosis and doesn't know what that looks like?
Well, fibroid tumors are just a benign tumor, yes, meaning they are not cancerous, but they are just a ball of tissue. Sometimes they are as small as a pinhead, and sometimes they're as big as a cantaloupe. And it just depends on what your body is able to sustain, how big some of them get. And it's not just one or two. I know of people who've had up to 37 in their body at one time. I know I carried several. I chose not to know how many because it was already dramatic enough for me to know that they were in my lining of my uterus, which is attached to the lifeline that I bring life into the world. So I said that, I'm okay with it, but they were as big as the last time that they shared with me. One of them was as big as a golf ball, and the other ones were as big as oranges, and then I know I had another one as big as a grapefruit. So, I mean, just to know that you are carrying that around in your stomach, in your uterus, it's just,
And what I've learned about any form of tumor, benign or malignant, that growth in the body is also, that is a red flag of the body telling you something is wrong. It is building up this tissue and this mass, and that is a red flag that says something's wrong. Mine were the size, I was told my uterus was the size of a woman that was 6 months pregnant. And that just floored me. So let's talk about the healing process and how that journey has looked for you and what has come out of this. You went through this process, you had your children, you have your beautiful children, your son and your daughter. You've gone on. What's come out of this?
Well, what has come out of it is another passion for encouraging women to take care of themselves. Health and wellness, figuring out what's best for your journey and your body, and being unafraid to express that, whether it's to your primary physician, your OBGYN, or just someone who is a holistic professional that you're working with. And I have all three of those, because I believe in a balance. That's one of my themes, because I realize that fibroid tumors as well are connected to stress. They feed off of blood supply, but they feed off of the trauma and stress and drama that you carry in your body. So it's best to seek out as much balance in your life as possible.
So that's interesting. You mentioned in our first segment that fibroid tumors they're widespread among women, number one, but the biggest demographic is African American Black women.
Yes.
So when you say that they are connected to stress, not to say that one demographic has more amount of stress than the other, but let's just be real.
Let's be real.
And let's talk about the fact that those statistics and those numbers, how we can look at the stress and the trauma of what we go through as a culture, as a people, and that really kind of makes sense to me.
It really does.
It does. It makes sense for the numbers being there. So it's tumors in our in the body. What are you doing? What collaborations, and how are you the practices with holistic health and wellness? What are you involved in?
Well, I am working with, honestly, Bedroom Candy. They have a big health and wellness line, and that Bedroom Candy health and wellness line is so pH balanced for a woman. So it's best to seek out things that are pH balanced. So the soaps, they have elixirs, different things that cause your body to balance itself out from the outside in, inside out. And that's one of the biggest things, because they are in support of women understanding and being educated as much as possible in order to say, oh, okay, this is what I need for this area of my body. This is what I need to put on my skin. Because when we put a lot of things on our skin, we don't understand that that is causing more inflammation, more stress, and more trauma than what we can. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was going to say, what people don't realize is skin is our biggest organ. What we put on it, it penetrates, it gets into our bloodstream. And so you think, oh, this is a lotion, and this is, and you're putting those different things that could be toxic into your system. You were gonna say
I think you were with me whenever I first figured out how strong of a statement that is that you just made. After I did a cleanse, after I'd really started getting my body aligned after my fibroid tumor removal, I went to put color in my hair. I think I told you that. I went to put color in my hair, and I could taste it. And I was like,
I remember us talking about that.
I said, never again. You said, oh my gosh. And then you thought about it. You said, you know what, Faith, that does make sense, because the skin is the biggest organ on our body.
It's the biggest organ, and people don't think that. And there's so many things out there that, you know, we want to smell good, we want to feel pretty, we want to put stuff on, but you really have to be proactive. And that's the theme I hear with you here, is just be proactive.
Yes.
Be proactive. Take your health into your own hands. Become knowledgeable.
Yes, absolutely. Because there's also a connection with things that we put in our hair with the fibroid tumors. The research, it gets even into that. So you definitely have to be careful what you're putting on your skin, and make sure you take care of yourself. And then I wrote a lot about my pain years ago, and I didn't know what it was about, but I knew that I was in pain, but didn't know how much pain I was in until I was released from it. And so the writing became a passion of mine, just for me. And it was a stress reliever for me. And then eventually, God gave me an opportunity to become an author. And I said to him, well, Lord, if it's for me to put my information, my story into a book, then I know you'll let it happen. And truly, maybe the day or the night that I said it, I was contacted about being a collaborative author with other women.
Wow.
To empower and inspire and tell and share their stories.
Talk about putting it in the atmosphere and it coming right back.
I couldn't believe it. I was so nervous after it
God
happened.
left no room for you to question and go,
Right.
It's really, he's like, you know what, here's your answer right here.
Right. I said, oh, okay, I'm just gonna go to sleep now because I think I'm good on prayers for the night. I did. I really did do that.
Yeah.
But I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
So let's talk about that. So you've written, you collaborated with some other authors. It's a collective, and it's just a part of you. You said something that you didn't know how much pain you were in until you were released from it. That's almost like an epiphany.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of us, that's really what Healing Through the Hurt is about right here, is just, you know, looking back on, this was the pain, but I have been released from it.
Yes.
And now I'm free to do something about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's why writing on this collaborative book was so perfect, because the title is Fashioned by God to Rule the World. So, you know, you think, oh my goodness, she must just have it all together and
Girl,
everything must be, well, let me share. Being fashioned by God is exactly what you said. You were formed, God put everything in you, on you, for you, way before you even understood who you are or were. So you stand in who you are as a birthright. And when you understand that you've been released from everything that works against where He has put you, you're there.
You're there.
You're there.
I love that. I love it. It to be fashioned by God. I mean, and it's just like you said. People think, look, you know, you're sitting here, you're looking stunning, you're looking gorgeous.
Thank you.
You just look like you just got it going on, and people don't know the pain behind the purpose.
That's right.
And that being fashioned by God means being created for His purpose. And a lot of times when you think about things that are created and shaped and fashioned and molded and formed, there's a lot of pulling, there's some stretching,
pruning.
There's some tugging, there's some pruning, there's some banging. You know, fashion sounds like a pretty word, but there is some fire behind that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, what would be your takeaway to women watching with who may be enduring what you're going through and who want to be proactive and get in the healing that they need? What's your takeaway?
Embrace where you are and know that you've already been fashioned for the other side.
I love it.
It's there.
Embrace where you are and know that you've already been fashioned for the other side. Faith, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Until next time, we will see you on the next episode of Inspired with Takiya La'Shaune. Bye. Want more inspiration and encouragement? Join me next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Live, and hear more extraordinary women sharing their extraordinary stories. And be inspired with Takiya La'Shaune. This episode of Inspired with Takiya La'Shaune has been sponsored by The Brow Company, Beauty Bar, Makeup Studio, and Lash Spa, a Takiya La'Shaune salon. The Brow Company specializes in exceptional lash, brow, and makeup artistry, natural nail care, full body and Brazilian waxing, laser liposuction, teeth whitening, hair shampoo and blow-dry styling, and more. The Brow Company has 2 locations in Bluffton, South Carolina, and on Ladies Island, and are open by appointment Monday through Saturday. Find out more and book your appointment today. Have a business, idea, nonprofit, organization, or event you'd like to talk about? Contact me today to find out more about my sponsor and affiliate partner program segments here on Inspired with Takiya La'Shaune. That is
Preeclampsia is so unexplained. There's no cure. There's no test to see if you're gonna get it. Right now, they're doing so much research to try to figure this out, but it happens a lot in African American women, and sometimes, you know, it can lead to baby loss, but sometimes it leads to loss of kidney functions, diabetes, all kind of things. So they're really trying to figure this out, and a lot of the work that the Preeclampsia Foundation does right now is to raise money to try to figure this out.